Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. So, our second session with the lovely Jase and Jonathan from Meadow Rise Developments. So, after the success of their first talk, where they were talking about how to go about finding a builder and the right questions to ask, these guys are back with us to talk about the very, very important topic of contracts and making sure that you are protected regardless of whichever builder you use, whether you use Meadow Rise or somebody else to do your building works, that you are protected as you go into that build. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to the guys.
Thank you very much, Joanna. Appreciate that. Well, first of all, thank you again for joining, for arranging this call. Really appreciate it. So thanks for your time there. So quick intro to those that have joined us live and those that jump on the recording. So my name's Jase. I'm the co-founder of Meadow Rise Developments, and my role within Meadow Rise Developments is the business manager. Okay, so I deal with all things contracts, insurance, emails, making sure that IT set up the processes behind the scenes, if you will, alongside my business partner John. We've formed in February 2025 when me and John decided that we would bring our expertise together. I've got previous military background in some high-end project management and in the not just the military but also in the private sector as well. So we decided to combine skill sets and create Meadow Rise developments. John, would you like to give an introduction to yourself?
Yeah, hello everybody. So it's Jonathan Foy. Basically, I've had 25 years now in the building game from one aspect or another. So starting out myself as landscaping and groundworks, moving very quickly into doing full new builds myself with my team of lads, and then moved straight into project management about 6 years into that. So I've been doing about 20 years now as project management, running different styles of projects across the UK. Anything from your basic flats to apartment blocks to charity housing programs, to a little bit of everything, basically across a wide spectrum. And that's been me managing it with a team of builders essentially on site, so making sure we have to do the project management, the feasibility side, and then doing the actual build itself to make sure everything goes to plan. So that's a bit about me. Back to you, Jason.
Thank you very much, John. So just to explain how the call is going to work, just a little bit of housekeeping. So if you want to ask questions throughout the call, please feel free to do so. John will monitor the chat and Joanna will monitor the chat there. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them in. We like to be a bit interactive. We're not going to PowerPoint presentate you tonight. We will be talking about experiences with contracts and then move into sort of what to look out for. And the purpose of the call really is to give you an understanding of how to protect yourselves as clients of builders, like what to look out for, what to consider within contracts. So please take away as much of this from this call as you can. And if you do have any questions, fire them away. What I will say is that this is not legal advice. Myself or John aren't legally trained. We're not solicitors. However, we do everything in our powers to protect our clients, and we wish to pass that information on to anybody else who's going to engage a build team. Okay, so it's the group's smaller than what we thought it would be tonight. We've got a lot of people registered, but I think I can see a couple of people that have joined us. So thank you for your time. First of all, to kick off, has anybody on the call, and if you haven't, that's fine, has anybody on the call worked with a builder on trust at all? Give us a thumbs up or stick something in the chat if you've worked with a builder on trust with no contract. John, you're monitoring the chat, aren't you?
I am,
Okay,
yes,
fine.
yes.
Or has anybody had a price from a builder via email or WhatsApp or text message and not had a contract?
So just to clarify for that, so there's a couple of bits coming in now in the chat, but
Okay.
last time when we did the call, we mentioned contracts in the call, and majority of people on the call seemed to say that they were doing it through trust, that they didn't
Yeah,
have contracts with builders, which to us was a bit scary. And it's like, you can't be doing that. You know what I mean? You're working with a lot of money and you should have
exactly.
contracts. So that's what we mean by that. Is anybody working with
Or
builders or doesn't know how to work with the builder in terms of a contract and stuff like that. So you've got some bits coming in now. So
Yeah.
so again, Joanna's put her parents. We've got not been involved in builders work so far. So is there a level of work that you should have a contract? I would say every single level of work. Straight off, just from me. I mean, we've just sent a contract up to a client that was next door to a job we're working on, and it's what is it, £1,400? They've got a contract.
Yeah, 1,800, I think it was.
1,800. There you go.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't matter about the figure. Is what I would say.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's it on the chat, Jay. So I'll pass over to you to kind of explain what that process is.
Okay, yeah. So we come across people all the time that have worked with builders that have just given prices over email or face to face, or maybe sort of back of a piece of paper. It's 70 grand to do this work, and it's all done on trust. The risks with that is that something could go quite seriously wrong. And if it does go wrong, how are you protected? Um, Even if you have a contract in place that doesn't have terms and conditions and is only a very short contract, how are you protected? What do you do if there is a dispute of any over any piece of work that should have you think it should have been done? The builder say, well, that wasn't priced for. How do you come back to that? Sorry, John, did you say someone had said that the parents have worked with someone on not on a contract?
Yes, Joanna.
Oh, Joanna, Joanna, would you mind sharing that experience? If would that be okay?
Yeah, sure. They had a new patio put down over the summer, and it was about 3 grand's worth of work.
Okay.
And we had quite a few discussions about how to go about finding someone. And
Hmm.
they probably did everything wrong. They just found someone up. Like they went through check trade. Like the people were just a nightmare trying to find getting people to actually come around and quote. They ended up getting
Yeah.
the guy out of the paper, and just liked him.
Hmm.
They trusted the fact that he came in a branded van, and said, he must have a proper business because he's got a branded van. We liked him. We're going to trust him to do the work. He says he can start in 6 weeks. We're happy with that. And I
Yeah.
was just like, please, 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 can you like go and like find some, ask him for some references, chat to people, and they didn't. And luckily, thankfully, they did a really good job. They turned
Okay.
up when they said they were going to do, and touch wood, there wasn't any issues.
Good.
But it made me quite nervous.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what was that? £3,000 for the total amount of work. Yeah. So even over 3 grand, like we said, we've sent a contract out for £1,800. Even in Joanna's example there, for £3,000, there was likely no discussion of a contract. The person was taken on face value. Luckily, in this respect, it turns out they were a good, decent person. They turned up, they did the work and got paid from the sounds of it. However, that's not always the case. And there's so many examples of people paying for remedial works, the smaller works to be done, and not being happy and having no way of what's the word I'm looking for? I've just been
Recourse.
Yeah, no recourse. I've just been put off because the dog's just coming from a walk, so he threw me off for a second there. No recourse to how to rectify that problem. So what is the purpose of a contract? What do we think in the room a purpose of the contract is for a builder? Like, what is the main purpose of it? If you can stick something in the chat, if you do have any ideas.
I'd say speak up. There's only 3 people in the room right now, so I'd say speak up if
Oh
you've
yeah,
got anything.
yeah, that's fine.
Um,
That's fine. Well, John, what do you think the purpose of a contract should be?
I'd say it depends on which party you're coming from. So from the builder's perspective, they want to
Yeah,
protect themselves, and the client wants to protect themselves, and it's
correct.
finding a middle ground.
Hmm.
Um, it,
Agreed.
it's that simple. You need to find that middle ground to make sure both parties are equally protected and both parties are happy.
Yeah, agreed. Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
I suppose it also highlights exactly what they are doing work-wise, what
Yeah,
materials they're using,
correct.
the method of how they're going to actually do the works,
Mhm.
and I suppose budgets as well.
Correct. Yeah. So a contract should give you as the person signing it, so we're obviously the builder, you're the person signing it, should give you peace of mind that you know what is being done to your property, in this case, property contracts, when it's being done, how it's being done, and how much it's going to cost, and what the sort of recourse if should there be any problems, or you need terms and conditions to refer to. So, like John says, a contract works both ways. As a company, a builder wants to protect him or herself. As a consumer, as a client, you want to protect yourself as well, and it needs to be fair. There needs to be a middle ground, right? So, what I'll do, I'll share my screen, and we'll run through the contract that we give to clients, and this will showcase um, how we operate, and we feel that we operate with integrity and transparency, and this will hopefully give people an idea of what to look for if they do come to engage builders in the future. So bear with me 2 seconds. Let me just give us a thumbs up if when you can see this contract here.
Yeah, coming up now.
Okay, perfect. All right, so at the beginning of the contract, we've got obviously our company, our logo, etc., and what it is. It's a project scope and contract agreement. Client name, John, I'll obviously use you as an example here. Client number that we refer to internally. Project address made up for this example. The type, so it's a 3-bed resi to 6-bed HMO conversion, and date of issue, which will be the 8th of September, today's date. A tiny little bit about the company there as well. So we pride ourselves on being like I said, a transparent company. So we say with decades of combined experience spanning construction management, military leadership, and strategic property investment, our team delivers innovative solutions, disciplined execution, and record elevating business. From project inception to completion, we transform visions into reality with expertise, integrity, and results-driven approach. Then on to the next stage then. So we thank the client for doing to work with us, a little bit about our organisation, and then we go on to the purpose of the scope. So purpose of this document is to outline our proposal for the development of your project. We aim to provide a comprehensive plan that details the project's requirements, timelines, and cost estimates, ensuring clarity and alignment with your vision. So like as Mark said there, like you as a client, you want to know what you're getting for your money. If you're gonna spend 100K on a development, you want to know that you're getting the right materials being used in your property, etc. So the project overview. So we will always give a brief project overview as per the discussions with the client. Project involves a full conversion of existing 3-bed semi-detached property into a client-compliant 6-bed HMO, house multiple occupation, delivering a high quality yet durable finish suitable for long-term tenant use. The work comprises a complete internal refrigeration, full electrical rewire, new central heating system, and installation of a shared kitchen and ensuite bathrooms. Scope includes extensive compliance upgrades to meet HMO fire and safety standards, targeted plastering works following damp remediation, and external works to remove redundant wall remnants under structural engineer approval. Additional external improvements include removal of a decked area, garden tidy, and jet washing. Given the complex nature of the project, Meadow Rise Developments will manage the full site program, coordinate deliveries, and ensure all trades operate to specification and in sequence. The service that we provide ensures that the client receives a competitive, transparent, and fully itemised scope that protects both program and quality. Document will list our detailed proposal, which outlines our approach, timeline, cost estimates for your project. So that gives a nice overview of the actual project that you are buying into with the company. Then comes the responsibilities and requirements. So responsibilities really lead to us, and then client responsibilities are listed in our terms and conditions. And I'm not going to read all this verbatim, don't worry, I'm not going to run through 26 pages reading to you. So essentially what this is saying is what we will do as a company. Okay, so we will scope a dedicated construction project manager, likely to be John at this stage, to your project to ensure that it's executed as per discussions and agreements, which will include project initiation, so setting the site up, resource management, moving teams around where required, bringing in subcontractors for work if required, executing oversight, so ensuring that site operations run smoothly and that the progress is being made as per the schedule of works, quality and risk management, so regularly inspect work to ensure that they meet specified standards. and risks are mitigated. And then client liaison, stakeholder coordination, so neighbours, etc., if required, and then documentation as well to ensure that all documents are compiled ready for the client. And then we go on to confirm that all necessary licenses, certificates, and insurances are held, and that we will not work without away from anything from building codes and regulations. Any questions on that before we move on to the actual scope of works? Does that sort of make sense so far to everybody? They won't all look like this. Every builder will have their own, or if they have contracts, will have their own sort of style of contracts. This is obviously just the style that we chose to go with. So what does all that look like? So that is in our scope of works. That's this listed, and John spends a lot of time going through scope of works for clients to ensure that everything that has been discussed is listed in there, and that's what's used to sort of run the job forward. John, do you want to talk this part?
Yeah, sorry, you're a little bit crackly there then.
Sorry.
Yeah, so with the scope, for me, it very much depends on the detail that you want as a client. I would say you need as much detail as possible. Certain clients want more detail than others. And I'll give an example of that. So I will scope everything out fully as much as I can do. So I will not write into a scope electrical work, which we keep seeing. We see builders all the time just put in electrical work, plumbing works, kitchen works, and that you're expected to know what that is. If I was to write a kitchen in there, it'd be exactly how many units, what base units, what style of units, how many of each, how many kickboards. I would detail every last aspect. Electrics are the same. So we had a client the other week where it's going to be a 6-bed HMO, and I written in there that there would be 4 double sockets in each room and 1 light switch in each room, and so on. They came back saying, okay, but I also want the total number of sockets for the whole property included. I mean, it's in the contract because it states that it's a 6-bed, and it states that there's going to be 4 sockets in each room. But the particular client wanted, no, I want an extra line written in to say that you provide exactly 64 sockets throughout the whole property. If that's what they want and that extra detail, then that's what we'll give. Do you know what I mean? But you need that detail. You need that level of detail. Because again, an electrician can come to you and say, electrics on a whole property. Do you know if that's compliant or not? Do you know what I mean? With a lot of HMOs, you need to have at least 3 double sockets in the room. You need to know the height of the double sockets are right. If there's already sockets in there and they're too low down, they'll need to be higher up. So all little things like this need to be in the contract. Some of it's down to yourselves to understand if you know what that means. What height should the socket be? If you're putting a HMO in, do you know the height of the socket? Therefore, put it in the contract to make sure the electricians do it. Because if you went round to our project and was like, the electrician wants paying, you're there to sign the work off and you hang on, none of this is compliant. Which again, we've just had on a project where we took over halfway through because the original electrician did everything non-compliant. And we've had to bring our teams in to make it compliant. So it's making sure that every detail is in there that gives you the peace of mind to make sure that you can sign that job off and know you've got a compliant property. That's what I would say a scope of works for, is to make sure that you are happy that it's compliant. You need to detail every last aspect. So again, plumbing works, electric works, stuff like that, it's not good enough. You need to detail, etc. And you can see from what we've done there, even just on prelims. Prelims, it's CDM guidelines. Every construction company out there needs to put a welfare unit on site. But I can guarantee probably 90% of builders don't. They'll go on site, they'll do what they'll do. They'll have a kettle in the corner somewhere, and they'll sit down on the toolboxes while they have lunch. It's just what builders do. Nowadays, you're not allowed that through CDM guidelines. You have to put a welfare unit on site, i.e., even if it's just a couple of chairs in a designated corner with the kettle and a microwave or whatever, that has to be there, as well as a working toilet and so on and so forth. So we detail every little last bit to make sure that it's a fully compliant contract, and also it doesn't put you guys at risk, because there's some CDM guidelines and health and safety guidelines. So if you put an F14 notice into the council, for instance, and the council turn up to the site to inspect it and there's no welfare unit, they could shut that job down and say, right, no one's doing any work on this job now. It's got to be compliant before you do it. That then forces you guys, and you're going to lose money because you've got a site up and running. So things like that is something you need to make sure is within that scope of works as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, John, thank you. So yeah, just as John was saying, so this scope of works, it really is the fine detail. This is where you are agreeing what is going to happen to your property. So, like I know John was talking about the plug sockets there. For structural and joinery work, supply and install 12 FD30 fire doors, 6 panels smooth moulded with matching fire rated frames, incandescent strips, self-closing devices, completed ironmongery sets, hinges, handles, lock sets, door labelling, all sundries to be agreed with the client for 6 bedrooms, 3 communal areas, 1 hallway, 2 bathrooms off kitchen. Okay, so straight away there with the doors, there's so many different fire doors you could get. We've gone to the length of specifying a 6-panel smooth. You could just get a fully smoothed fire door. You could get a 4-panel, whatever it might be. This client knows exactly what they're getting because it's in the contract. Same with the windows and glazing, we covered that. Plumbing and heating and covered. Supply and install Worcestershire Bosch system boiler with mega flow to accommodate 6 bed, 6 bath. Bathrooms and en suites per bathroom, supply and install WC basin, shower tray, enclosure, mixed shower valve, and all associated accessories. So it goes into the detail. Same with the kitchen, electrical. So, like John said, we have seen some of our clients. We've seen that they have had previous quotes full rewire. And that covers the electrics in the property. We break it down fully, and 45 double sockets, including USB-C chargers, 18 switches, and so on. Okay, plastering's covered in there as well. Full skim plaster above sites, patch skim where needed, overboarding skim landing ceilings, overall ceiling locations, decoration, whitewash all walls and ceilings with anti-mold paint. It's not always necessary. Some clients want it. It's a bit more expensive. Some clients don't, are happy with the standard whitewash paint. Feature wall to each bedroom, again, not a necessity. Most people go for white. So some clients don't want that. And then satin finish to all woodwork. Flooring, got a slip-resistant, waterproof vinyl flooring to all bathroom communal areas. Chosen luxury vinyl flooring to all bedrooms. That's what the client's gone for. Any external works, if there is external works to be done, some people choose to do the external works themselves, so that if it's only light, other people will ask us to remove walls, etc. We'll put that on there. And then importantly, all of that's important, but importantly at the end, compliance and certification. So full supply and install full fire compliance package, fire door strips, self-close alarms, CO2 detectors, kitchens, emergency lighting, etc. Gas safe certificates to be provided, for the boiler install, electric certification to be provided, if required, asbestos survey testing, supply and fit thumb locks in this instance to all bedroom doors for escape compliance, supply and fit compliant meter casing in hallway, and fit only fire blanket to kitchen. And then supply and install loft insulation as well is what we have here. And then we always say, if you've got any questions, reach out to the project manager for anything to be made clear if it isn't already.
If I can just jump in quickly there. So just another point there of making sure that you know your own compliance. Is like the fire blankets, for instance. That particular client case wasn't wanting fire blankets and said they wanted us to supply the fire blankets. That then puts the legal onus on us to then fire compliant blankets are compliant, which the onus is not on us. We can't do that, even because we could buy them from a shop. There could be an issue with them. They don't work as they should do. So we legally can't do that. Whereas some trades will just go, yeah, okay, we'll buy them, put them in. But then you're then responsible for a third party putting something in that is not insured to put fire items in. So that's just an example of making sure you know where your line is and the builder's line starts. Do you know what I mean? You need to make sure that you know which side of the line you're on from a contract point of view, and what side of the line they're on, and where the responsibilities stop.
Whilst we're on that topic, we'll just touch on insurance briefly. So you want to make sure that your builder's got professional indemnity and public liability as well. So we go high with it because we like protection. We've got 10 mil public liability and 1 mil professional indemnity. So, but that's our insurance. You are also expected to have insurance for your own projects. John, do you want to touch on this, given the previous experience?
Yeah, so again, from an insurance point of view, so insurance is a bit misunderstood by a lot of people. So let's say your own house right now, you have a window cleaner come and clean your windows. He cleans your windows, he falls off the ladder, he can sue you because you're the one who should be insured for work to be done on your property. You asked the window cleaner to come in and clean your windows. So if he falls, you're responsible for his health and safety under UK law. And the same works when it's a building site. So if you're doing work on a property, again, let's just use your own house, you contract a general builder in to do the works. He brings in his mate, the electrician, and his mate, the plumber. And one of them burn down the house. Is the house itself insured under that rules? Some of them won't be. You need to check with your actual insurance company to make sure they're done. If you're putting an extension on the side of your house, and again, the builder's doing that, he will be insured for his work under the extension. But if that extension burns your house down, it doesn't help you that he's insured for the extension. So you need to contact your insurance to make sure that your insurance covers you for having work done on your property. And it might only up your insurance by £100, but it's worth doing that just to make sure that everything's covered from that aspect. A lot of people fall short in it. I've done loss adjusting in the past for insurance companies, and a lot of people fall short on that to not adequately insure themselves against damage if a builder's doing work. Because a lot of builders do just contact the mate and say, I need a favour, I need some electrics doing. Your contract is with the builder, not with the electrician. Now, you'll notice above before Jason did say, as part of our contract, we are responsible for bringing in any subcontractors. That then puts the onus on us that if we bring in a subcontractor, it's up to us to make sure they're insured. And that third party claim would then go through. If that's not in the contract and they just bring in their mate Steve from the pub to come and do electrics for you, then you're responsible for that contractor and you might not have a contract with it. You'll only have a contract with the main builder. So it's all these little things that kind of fall into place essentially just to make sure that you don't have any issues.
Yeah, and that's not said to scare people. Look, there's plenty of good builders out there that will do everything that they believe is correct and legal to protect people. You hear so many bad stories, but there's loads of good stories as well about builders. But yeah, these little things can catch people out if they're not aware of it.
Oh, I said that in the networking meeting the other week, and there's another developer in there that is a bigger developer than what we are, and he didn't know that. They're a very good team. They're very good, very well known, but he assumed his insurance covered everything, and he didn't know that he had to specify in the contract that they take care of the subcontractors. So yeah, you say good builders can fall into this issue as well. It's not just a bad builder thing. It's just to make sure that every point's covered.
100%. And look, under our professional indemnity, we have subcontractor cover as well. But we will always make sure that they have relevant insurances as well before anybody comes on site. I'm going to move on to the schedule of works. Are there any questions at all from anybody before I do? Or are we happy? Think we're happy. Yeah, cool. Okay, so schedule of works then, what is it? So a schedule of works is, as it says, it is the schedule of when the work will take place. We lay it out in this format. I've seen different types of formats from Excel, different Excel, etc., and how it's laid out, but this is the way that we lay it out. So we always go with an expected date. So expected preliminary works will start on whatever date it is, and following the below scheduled work. So you can see there that the first couple of days is used for prelims and site setups. That's as per previous in the contract. Then that's followed by strip out and demolition, followed by structural and joinery works, external works. So if there are any external works, this will change per job, obviously. First fix electrical and plumbing might take a little bit longer, along with any plastering works. And again, any further external works, part 2. Secondary fix carpet and joinery, electrical and plumbing again, kitchen and bathroom installations, decoration towards the end always takes a while. Floor vinyl, carpets, final external works for any garden parts, and then final completion sign off. Typically give ourselves a little bit of a leeway there as well, in case anything goes wrong, because what you will find with any job is that things always crop up that you just thought was okay, and then something just pops up and you're like, right, okay, we need to fix this now. So that's what a schedule of works looks like. It's used to give you a very good idea of when a job will start, how long each phase will take, and what that looks like from a finished perspective. This is a 12-week job in total. Some are shorter, some are longer. Depends on the project itself. Okay. Has anybody got any questions on that? Or John, do you want to mention anything else about that?
Yeah, so for me, this is a very important part of the contract, or important part of any work that you're getting done. I mean, as a project manager, this is what I spend most of my time doing, is going through these schedules and timeframes. If your builder comes to you, or your development team, whoever they are, come to you and say it's going to be £100,000 and it should take us 3 months. Okay, from an investor point of view, you're going to work that out. You're going to work out when your development finance or whatever, however you're financing your deals, you're going to stack all that up and say, we're going to get 20% profit at the end of this deal. We're happy with that 20% profit, so we're going to go ahead. The builder then goes over, let's say 2-3 weeks. Let's say it goes over 10%. That eats into your profit margin. So then that property then becomes non-viable for you as an investor to be able to be reinvesting in. When it's set out in the way that this is set out right now, you can keep your builder to account. You can go through this and go, hang on a minute, you said by this date, all of this work was going to be done. From what I can see, you're 3 weeks behind schedule. So you need to get a move on. What plans have you got in place to get a move on? What is happening? What's gone wrong? And if they then can't account for extra works in that, then I would be questioning if they're going to finish on time. And that's where you can pull them and start going, hang on a minute, we need to have an actual discussion about what's going to happen here. And it also gives you time to plan, to say, okay, we may not get the money on time. Let's say your finance comes to an end date and you have to revalue that property at that end date, and that's not going to happen because the build's not finished. You can plan at least. You can ring your finance company, whatever, however you work in it, and have them discussions. So this is, for me, it's more important than most other parts of the contract, because this is what's protecting you as an investor. It's all about time scale. Time is money. It's that simple. And these type of things protect you. And just for reference, with ourselves, that's a very basic version. As in, I will put that into a 5-page spreadsheet and supply it to the client when we take on a contract to say, this is exactly where everything's going to do. These are all the works down to that will take 5 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, whatever it might be. And you will get a full detailed list of everything. That's just the way we work. Again, a lot of companies don't supply these because they're then held accountable. There's things you can put into contracts, and this will depend on your developer, because depending on the price of the contract, we won't put them in. And there's a reason for that, which I'll go through. But you can put a retention rate in there, for instance. So you can say to somebody, okay, we're going to keep 5% of every payment back until the end of the project. And if you're on time, you get your retention back. If you're not on time, a portion of that retention will then come to us because we've gone over, therefore we're protecting ourselves. That's pretty standard in UK contracts now. Most builders will say that's fine, but it depends on the value of the contract. So anything kind of under 200,000, most builders won't do it. Or if they do it, they'll just add the 5% on. So you need to be prepared that you're going to be paying more anyway if you do put it in there. Most builders will do that to protect themselves. But it is a good way of you keeping control of the builder, essentially, to make sure that they keep on schedule, because they're not going to want to lose that money. It's just that simple. They're not going to want to lose it. So there's different parts like that. And then variations is another one. So again, I heard there was one in the paper around here last week. So there's a builder around here doing a job. They were digging out the concrete in the house, and they found a swimming pool under the floor. No way the builder can know that. It was literally just a normal house. They dug up the living room as a swimming pool. At some point, somebody had a swimming pool in the living room, and this builder can't know that. The client can't know that, but it's not the builder's fault. He can't just fill that back up with concrete and take the cost on. It's just a variation in the contract. So this is another important part of it, is to keep the variation there. one thing we find that clients don't like is even if you go back to with a variation and say it's a variation in the contract, it's going to cost an extra £1,000 to do this work. They go, yeah, okay. And we then go, okay, and that's an extra week on the contract. Oh, I don't like that. You said you'd finish on such a date. So, well, if more work is more time. If we can keep it to the same time, we will. But more work is more time. So then this should be a moving project. Your schedule should never stay the same. Things will take quicker, things will take a lot longer, things will happen on the project, and it should be pliable. But that very much comes down to the contract to say that there's a variation stage within the contract. And if something untoward happens, then it's equally the schedule of work protects you on that. Because a variation is not, and this is what some builders will try and do, is not them saying, I forgot to add a door on. I only thought there was 6 doors in the property and there's 7. So you're gonna have to pay for an extra door. That's where you go, no, I know there's 7 doors in the property and you've quoted for 7 because it's in the schedule. So you're doing 7 doors and you don't pay the extra. That's their problem, not yours. But again, some builders will try that and just come back to you and say, no, I've not accounted for something. You can't account for a swimming pool in someone's living room. You can account for a door or a piece of skirting board or the electrics that should be compliant. So again, it's finding the line, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly, and we'll come on to the variations because that's one of the clauses to discuss in the terms. But agreed. Look, again, you can't see everything on a review of a property. There will be some things that crop up. The terms and conditions in our contract are lined up to protect people against that and to be transparent about that. Other people might come back to you and say, I've only quoted for 4 doors and there's 8 or whatever that might be. But if they've given you a quote, an estimate isn't legally binding, a quote is. Okay. So if you take anything away, take that away today and utilize that. But yes, this allows you to hold your development partner or builder to account as to when they will be finishing on time. Because if you're relying on that for refinancing or your bridging loans coming to an end or whatever that might be, it's going to be important to stick to this timetable. But again, if the person that you engage to do the work is honest with you and there's problems, and then keeping you up to date for whatever reason what's happened, and is transparent, you will be kept up to date anyway. You'll know that that's going to move by 2 weeks or whatever it might be. If a roof collapses or depending on the state of the property, if a stairs need rebuilding, it's going to add time because like John said, time and things take time to complete. So this is just a brief section to essentially say that there's a 30-day limit on the quotation. If you don't engage within that time, we've got the right to revise it basically, and it lists a couple of clauses that you can look into, including the variation process in clause 3.109, but we'll go into that very shortly. And that workmanship's covered under a 12-month warranty, as detailed in a different clause. Right, VAT and payment terms, and this is an important one. So, VAT, we are VAT registered. Any builder should really be VAT registered, should be doing enough works to be VAT registered in a year. Now, typical VAT is 20%. That's what we charge typically to clients. Excuse me. If you are a commercial client, there is something called a VAT domestic reverse charge, I think it's called, which allows you to reverse the VAT charge to your client or to the person you're working with, and then label that when you do your VAT return with HMRC, so it reduces that VAT amount paid. Basically, they cancel each other out between 2 companies. With VAT, there's also various situations where you can basically apply reduced VAT. Okay, like 5%, for example, if you're increasing the number of rooms in a property for whatever the terms might be. Any reduced VAT is down to the client to prove, and if a client can prove to us that they are able to access a reduced VAT, we will charge a reduced VAT. However, that is in our terms and conditions, if we ever get questioned or charged for a reduced VAT that shouldn't have been, the client takes responsibility for that. Okay, so typically for everybody we charge 20%. If a client comes to us and they are VAT registered, we can reverse that and cancel each other out, or you can access a reduced VAT. On the cost of service, and you can look into that on HMLC guidelines if you need any more service. We always break the net amount, VAT amount, and gross amount as well. Okay, so gross amount is plus the VAT, net amount is without it. Okay, so in this instance, 90.5 grand. They got 5% rate for VAT, equating to 4.5 grand. So 95 and a bit grand is the gross amount. So we list that out in black and white for the client. And then payments, so like John said, if it's anything under sort of 150, 200 grand, we will just break that down into payment sections, basically. So on this date, we usually work off 2 weeks. On this date, you owe this amount. So for example, payment 1, we always take a prepayment prior to work commencing, 9.5 grand in this instance. At the end of week 2, there's 14 grand, which is made up of the net value of 14.5 grand, which is 14,700, which is made up of 14 grand net and 700 VAT, and so on throughout up until completion. Okay. Another way of doing it for larger jobs is to work off a percentage complete, percentage paid basis. But that would be for your larger 200k plus jobs, and would essentially be 50% of the plastering's been completed, therefore 50% of the plastering is paid for, and it will be done on that basis via John through discussions with the client. But to keep it simple for this call, you would expect a payment term with a builder to be pretty simple, pretty easy to read. Ideally, you should see the breakdown. It's good for your own records, good for your own record keeping. I would advise seeing the breakdown so that you know exactly what's being paid and what it's going towards. But that is typically what it would look like for most builders. Any questions on that at all? No? Okay. In terms of service, right? So there is 14 pages of this. I'm not going to go through it. I'm not going to bore you all with it. I will briefly run through the terms of service, and what that looks like and how you are protected and how we protect ourselves as a business. These don't have to be in the contract. They could be on the builder's website. Ours will be transferring to the website at some point in the not too distant future, once I've finished the site off and got the final sign off for it. However, at this moment in time, our terms of service are within our contract. So again, the purpose of these are to protect you and us. So introduction. So it constitutes a legally binding contract between Meadow Rise Developments and the service provider. We are a private limited company registered with this register number with our office address, and the client engages the service of the service provider, etc., etc. The client agrees to provide all necessary consents, payments, information, site access to facilitate timely and lawful execution of the services. And then it goes down to, for the definitions apply, a couple of definitions there. Then it goes into the scope of works. Okay, so the service provider shall be responsible only for the works expressly detailed in the scope of works. So remember, at the beginning we have the scope of works, which details every last detail, and then you have the schedule of works, which is the time. All services will be carried out in accordance with the applicable building regulations, statutory obligations, and recognised industry standards. Any modification to the agreed scope of works within this contract must be confirmed in writing by both parties and may result in adjustments to the contract price and project timeline, feeding in nicely to what John was saying there. And then this goes into the percentage of completion works, etc. In this example, I've not used it. I've used the simpler payment terms, but it basically goes into the percentage breakdown for payments. Contract formation there. Excuse me. So The agreement should be legally binding upon the client's acceptance and confirmation by electronic signature. We send everything out via DocuSign. It's easier that way. There's an electronic record of everything, and it's always kept in our account, and you also get a signed copy immediately. So for us, it really works better that way. And then any contract amendments must be in writing and signed by both parties. Any contract amendments that we do, let's say, for example, a client comes to us and says, John, I would like a very small kitchenette put into each HMO room, and can you sort that for me? We would then go away and put that into a variation and send that out on a different invoice and contract to be signed and paid for. Okay, and that will also explain how long that will add to the actual project. And it happens, maybe not for kitchenettes, but it happens in quite a lot of instances. People come back and say, you know what, actually, I want the front of the house painting now. Could you do that for me as well? Could you build a wall there? Whatever it might be. Payment terms then. So client agrees to make payments in accordance with the payment schedule. Payments should be made within 48 hours of invoice issue. Reason it's 48 hours for us is because you already know when you're going to get invoiced. We've set it out quite clearly in the payment terms. We've got contractors and staff to pay, etc. So we ask for it within 48 hours, and we've given plenty of notice for that. Late payments will incur an 8% per annum of interest. If that is required, hopefully it'll be resolved before it gets to adding any interest onto anything, should there be any issues. And then failure to make payments on time entitles the service provider to suspend works without liability for any resulting delay. Okay, in such cases, the project timeline shall be extended accordingly. Additional restart mobilisation costs may apply, and warranty rights may be affected or impacted. Now, that's protecting us. Right, that's a clause to protect us. Like I said, we've got people that rely on us for the work and money, etc. So what we're saying is, if we're not getting paid, we will halt works temporarily until it's all resolved. And then the client is strongly advised to maintain a contingency fund equal to at least 10% of the total project costs. Funds should be readily available to cover the cost of any unforeseen works or additional requirements that may arise during the project, such as John's swimming pool. That's been through that, basically 20%. If you are going to request a reduced VAT rate, then we would like to see a valid planning permission decision notice confirming that you qualify for change of use on a property, if that's applicable, approved architect or building plans clearly showing the creation of multiple rooms, building control approval documents, for example, for a HMO. And then this is what I said here. If HMRC challenge the VAT at the bottom, the client accepts full liability for any VAT, interest, penalties, and associated costs. So again, that is a protection for us. Okay. Client warrants all necessary statutory approvals and legal requirements are in place. They indemnify the service provider against any third party arising from failure to obtain required approval. So put that onus on you. It's your property. Please make sure that the planning permission is in place if you're bringing us in to engage us for works. Provide full and accurate information about the site and allow uninterrupted access. Ensure a safe, respectful and non-abusive environment for all service provider personnel, including subcontractors and consultants. This, for me personally, is a big one. We treat everybody with respect, and we will bend over backwards for clients. We will do everything we can to give them the best service we possibly can. At no point will me or any of the team accept any abuse from anybody, and that's like a straight non-negotiable, and should be for everybody, right? Everybody, nobody deserves anything like that. The client shall promptly notify the service provider of any known health hazards, structural risks, or potential infectious exposure present at site or in the local area. Upon request, the client shall provide valid ID, which may include one form of photographic ID and one proof of address. That's if we require it, and we do that for fraud prevention or insurance purposes. Service provider reserves the right to suspend works without penalty where the client fails to provide any documentation. We don't ask for it in every case. We don't need to in every case. Some jobs we will. She'll provide us with keys, access codes, or other means of entry to the site. Have a reasonable effort to attend all scheduled project update meetings. And then it goes into site visits by the client strictly by prior arrangement with the project manager and must be accompanied by the project manager at all times. I'm going to come on to this in a little bit more detail because it's a little bit of a grey area that needs to be addressed, which is why we've put a clause in our contract about it. Client is solely responsible for ensuring that all materials that they supply are free from defects. In any issue, because sometimes clients want to provide their own materials. Any issues with the materials could cause delays to the work and extend the overall project time. Our obligations then. So carry out work in accordance with UK construction regulations, requirements, and industry standards. And then we're going to definitions and defects. So a definition of an emergency defect, posing immediate risk to life or safety. Major is a defect that materially impairs the intended use of an area or results in a material non-compliance with building regs or statutory approvals, but is not an emergency. And then minor defects is a defect or snag that doesn't have use or compliance. We will respond to emergencies within 48 hours and then aim to have them boxed off and rectified within 7 to 14 working days. Major defects, we will aim to rectify within 5 working days of notification. We will be out to the property, and then 20 working days to have it rectified, and then defects within 28 days. We will let the client know if there's any dependencies and clock stops on the time. So if anything crops up, that might, for example, if a conservation officer comes out and demands that wooden window frames be restored, that's going to add time onto the property. Anything like that, we will come to the client for and explain what's happened and why there might be an increase in time. Yeah, fine. Assignment subcontracting, so we're responsible for, if we're going to bring a contractor in, making sure that they're fully insured. Variations must be documented in an detailing judgment and timeline impacts. Any unapproved extra work will not be undertaken. No additional work shall commence without a signed addendum contract. Okay, so what we're saying there is, if you need additional work doing at the property, that is at your cost as the client. It's not at our cost as the contractor if it's not within the original scope. Okay, we will send a document out, again, invoice separately for that work. Health and safety. So the main thing to take away from this health and safety is 10.3. This is a grey area, and I'll explain why. So you as the client own the property. We as the contractor, from a health and safety and management perspective, are running the site. We class it as a site. So there's the age-old argument of the client wants to come and visit the property, client wants to check the property out, they own the property. But what we say is you must do that with one of us present, with the project manager present, or a Meadow Rise team member present. The reason we do that is because we want to protect any visitors to the site from any health and safety issues. If it's a live site, floorboards will be taken up. You may have exposed wiring that electricians are working on. You've got contractors walking around everywhere with planks of wood and pipes and tools, etc. If a client decides to access a site and damage is done, that is solely at their responsibility. If theft accusations arise from it, that is at their responsibility, because we will secure sites. But it's a tough one because you own the property and we're working for you on the property. So, but we need to protect both you and us, and our responsibility is to do that the best that we can. and I'll read through this because it's an important one. So it's the 10.3, the client and any visitors may not enter the site while works are in progress unless A, the visit has been requested in advance and confirmed in writing by the service provider, which is us, and B, the visit is supervised at all times by an authorised representative of the service provider. Service provider may refuse, restrict or reschedule access at its reasonable discretion for safety, programme or security reasons. Booking and conditions of entry. So the client must give at least 7 days. Unless otherwise agreed, visits are limited to 3 attendees, okay, for a maximum of 60 minutes during normal site hours. No children or pets are permitted. It really is a health and safety thing. We don't want kids on sites. No, there's no reason for a kid to be on site. We again, another non-negotiable. Same with dogs and any other animals that anyone wants to bring. It's a no-go. All attendees must sign the visitor register, comply with site rules, and wear required PPE, minimum hard hat, high vis. Attendees must follow all instructions from the project manager or site supervisor, must not interfere with works, plant or materials, must not give directions to workers, or must not take photos or videos without prior consent. We haven't got a problem with it. Just let us know if you're going to do it, and if there is an issue, we'll let you know actually. There shouldn't really ever be any issues, to be honest with you. Where the client brings third parties, for example, valuers, consultants, or suppliers, the client should ensure that they are competent and on request provide evidence of appropriate insurance, including public liability and any risk assessments, method statements relevant. If, in the reasonable opinion of the service provider, conditions on site make a visit unsafe, the service provider may cancel, curtail, or pause the visit and, if necessary, suspend works to carry out make-safe measures. Any rearranged visit will be at a mutually agreed time. Nothing in this agreement excludes or limits the liability liability for death or personal injury caused by negligence. Okay, so that's the important word there. For the avoidance of doubt, while the works are in progress, the site is under the control of the service provider for the purpose of health and safety at work and the construction D&M regulations. And any entry by the client as a property owner is subject to and limited by this clause. Any unsupervised or unnotified access is prohibited and is at the client's sole risk and may result in suspension of the works and recovery of reasonable costs. And the client shall indemnify the service provider of any loss, claim, delay, or damage arising from such access. I'd be keen to know what people's thoughts are on that, because it's a difficult area. You own the property, we're working on the property. We want to protect everyone's health and safety and your interests, but you want to come and visit the property that you own. What's if anyone's comfortable enough to jump on, what's people's thoughts, or even in a message? Or John, what's your, if no one no one's...
I think John's jumping in now.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I would say for me, it depends upon the size of the job. Like if that's a very comprehensive scope of work that you just talked through there, right?
Yeah.
You're literally stripping things back. You are going to have multiple trades all over the place. You're not just going to want someone randomly turning up.
Certainly.
And I'm sure it's about the relationship that you build. You can say, hey, I'm in the area, can I pop in tomorrow? And you'd probably be okay with that. But I think if it's a smaller job, I think it kind of would feel a bit OTT if you're like having a patio in your house,
exactly.
or your new bathroom fitted or something like that. So
exactly,
I think it's about taking it to the
it's site specific.
Right?
So for like the smaller jobs, you don't have these terms, but for a sort of back to brick HMO conversion, you'll have terms like this with us. Okay, there'll be a sort of a smaller version of the terms for your much smaller jobs.
I think from my perspective, I think it makes it sound like you guys really know what you're talking about, and I think it would be very clear if anybody else is going to be working with a builder where these types of things are not listed. You've got a bunch of questions to be posing to your builders about how do you maintain health and safety on my site and things like that.
I think that's the purpose for me, is to put this call on like this, is to try and explain what you should expect. So not to just go through and say, this is what we do and it's all great. But if you look at this compared to what you get off somebody else, it's a case of looking at it, so hang on a minute. If companies do offer this, which we're not the only one that offers this, obviously. So if other companies do offer this, why am I settling for less with my builder?
Yeah.
I can ask for more and I can get more. And if they're not willing to do it, what's the reason for that? So we've mentioned before, it's 8:05, so I'll get to it now. But like JCTs, people tell you to use JCTs all the time. Do you know what I mean? And JCTs are not worth the writing that they're written on, the paper they're written on even. Do you know what I mean? They're just not worth it because they have all these terms in. The problem with the JCT is that you have to go back to RICS to get them to arbitrate the contract. So if you have a problem with your builder, the builder can try and go against you and say they've not paid me, but they've got to pay RICS to do that. If the builder walks away and doesn't do the job, you've got to pay RICS to arbitrate. You can't just go to a normal court. You can't go to small claims. You can't get your solicitor involved. It's a government-backed contract that is signed over by RICS. And that's where the problem becomes with it. You can get JCTs that are 20 pages long, and then you can get something like that. And I have one in my office somewhere that's it's something like 780 pages long. So every possible terms and condition is in there. But it's not worth the paper it's written on if you can't claim against it. So either make your builder put one of these together, you put one together and give it to your builder and say, listen, this is the T's and C's I want to work with you. So if you're happy with it, we'll go ahead with it.
Yeah.
Or meet 50-50. If it's a decent sized project, both of you speak to an impartial solicitor and say, we want some terms written up that protects both parties, and then we'll put it together for you. And they'll use standard contract terms, which is what we have in here. A lot of this is standard stuff. It's just a lot of people don't go through it like what we have. So it's just making sure that you're covered. Again, we had a client come to us a while back saying, I want you to sign JCT. And I was just like, no, we won't do it. And I explained the reason why. And she's like, okay, so you feel you won't be able to claim if there's an issue. And I was like, well, yes. Well, you serve the JCT to me instead, then you're in control. And I was like, well, no, because I won't give you a contract that I won't sign. Why would I do that? I'm not going to give you a contract and tell you to sign something that I wouldn't be willing to sign. So no, instead, here's our T's and C's, look through it. And if you've got any questions, come back to them. And I said we give them weeks to come back and go over through. And some of the clauses they came back with, we were like, okay, we can understand why you think that. And yes, it could be worded differently. So there should be a bit of give and throw from it. But the whole point in this is to kind of point out that expect more from builders. Just expect more. Builders are not giving this stuff out, and they should be, essentially.
Yeah. Sorry to put you on the spot on this one, but I've heard a lot of chat going on recently about people talking about using ChatGPT to come up with contracts, or at least to review contracts. What are your thoughts about using AI to build these type of contracts out?
Best thing since sliced bread is what I'd say. You can, not to put it together, let's say, but let's just, if we send you this, for instance, you should put that straight into ChatGPT and say, I want you to act. And it depends how good you are with AI. Me and Jason are quite good with it. We use it a lot in the business. So you need to prompt it and say, you are now my legal expert. You know all UK law, you work with properties, you work with this, you work with that. And then go put it into ChatGPT and go, I want you to assess this contract and give me an overview. It will come back to you and say, this contract is 95% certain and these clauses stand out. This is what your risks are as the client. These are your pitfalls, these and so on. And it'll give you an overview. I wouldn't say it replaces a solicitor. And it's up to you to decide whether you want to speak to a solicitor or whether you don't want to speak to a solicitor. Most people don't. Most people, I would probably say over 90%, will sign a contract. I've seen people sign directors' contracts, contracts for houses, contracts for millions of pounds where they go. I know I should speak to a solicitor, but I trust it. I trust it. So I'm going to sign it. At least now there's a buffer between you and the solicitor that's free, essentially, of £15 a month, whatever it is. Put it into chat at the very least, or any other AI out there. We don't discriminate. So yeah, put it into any AI and say, yeah, what's your thoughts on this, essentially? But learn how to use AI.
Yeah, I
You
was
can
going to
use
say,
AI like a Google search engine and just go, what do you think? And it'll give you basic results.
yeah.
Prompt it and go back and say, you are an expert in this field. And when it gives you the expert thing in the field, just so I say, okay, now look at what you've given me as an expert. Make yourself a better expert.
I feel like this could be
Yeah.
a whole other topic, and me and you could talk for ages about AI, couldn't we? Because we do absolutely love it.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely use it. It's a great tool. Doesn't replace proper legal advice from a solicitor,
Yeah.
but it gives you a very quick heads up if you've prompted it correctly. But maybe that's the next call.
Yeah.
Look, I will spend the next 5 minutes just finishing off these terms, just to give you a brief overview, and then open up for any questions at the end. Okay, so there's a confidentiality clause in ours, basically stating that we won't give out we can use the basic address, i.e. the street, not the number of the house for any marketing purposes, but we won't ever give your name out, number, etc. And that leads in with data protection as well, because we're registered. Intellectual right, can take photos for marketing purposes, and indemnity them. So we ask the client shall indemnify the hold harmless the service provider for any third party claims arising from the client's failure to obtain required approvals. Non-solicitation clause. So basically, you can't. We tell our clients that they can't poach anybody from our business for the duration of the project and for 12 months after. And limitation of liability. We are limited to the total cost from a liability perspective of the project. Force majeure events. So if there's any sort of natural disaster or pandemic or war, well, it says there war, that breaks out, we cannot be that is beyond our control, and we therefore can't be held liable for any issues with the schedules. And termination, we have a termination clause in there as well, whereby both parties, if there's a breach of contract, persistent non-performance from us, or non-payment, from the client, we can both terminate the contract with no less than 30 days notice. Okay, and it goes into a little bit more detail there. Dispute resolution then. So this is one just to go into a little bit more about. So disputes shall be addressed through negotiation. So we always want to have that friendly negotiation with the client, say, look, this isn't working for this reason, whatever that dispute might be. The client, we have a complaints process where the client can submit complaints directly to us, and we aim to resolve them all within 14 days. If they're unresolved, we expect mediation to take place and be pursued. And if mediation fails, there should be arbitration, okay, in line with the Construction Act dispute. So we can all Google what that means, and it goes into detail about it. But any arbitration costs must occur before any litigation. So before it goes legal, we need to have had informal discussions between us, mediation, arbitration, and then if that fails, legal. Okay, so that's kind of like how we want to solve problems rather than jumping straight to any legal. As governed by the UK law, all notice should be in writing. Entire agreement is this document. There's an anti-bribery clause in our contract as well. Publicity and marketing again goes into, we will do our very best to sort of avoid taking pictures, and if pictures of family on the wall, we'll do our best to take them down, and keep everything as sort of what's the word I'm looking for here? Well, keep it as plain as possible with no sort of identifying factors to the client in the photos. We'll be as energy efficient and sustainable as we can be. We will not leave lights on overnight, for example, and that type of thing. We talk about material shortages, supply chains. We can't be held liable for any delays or additional costs to materials. So, for example, if we can't get, there hasn't been, but if there was a major issue with plasterboard coming in, the cheaper plasterboard coming into the country, and the only one that was available was the more expensive version, we'd have to go with the more expensive version. We haven't quoted for that, so we'd have to come and have a conversation with you about that. and we may adjust the prices accordingly. And that's why we say that the client's advised to hold a 10% contingency of the contracted sum to cover any unforeseen works. And that's a budgeting recommendation. That's not for us to use or access at any time or uplift on the contract. That's in case there is any need for it. So it gives you a buffer. No additional work or cost will be completed without any addendums. Site conditions and unforeseen circumstances. The client warrants that all site conditions have been disclosed verbally and should be liable for any delays or costs if site conditions deviate from the pre-agreement. Electronic signatures have covered third-party rights, so no third-party access, rights to enforce this agreement under the contracts, and no consent shall be required from third parties to amend this agreement. So this is contracted between us and you. Compliance with statutory requirements, fine. You should have delay comes in your contract. We have a grace period in our contract of 10 working days from the end of the scope schedule of works, and then we can start being charged by the client for anything that goes beyond that. Okay, so that doesn't include additional works as well, so you'll always be kept up to date with additional works. And then we have project handover and completion. There's a document to sign. A referral fee acknowledgement clause. Sometimes if a client is referred to us by a third party, we will pay them a referral fee. You can request that if you have been referred, and if a referral fee has been paid, you can ask how much has been paid. And then warranties. So the service provider warrants work against defects for 12 months from the project handover to the client, and the warranty excludes normal wear and tear, misuse, improper maintenance, or materials provided by the client. And that covers our terms and conditions of what you should likely be looking for in a contract. Final thing on there is just a signature block for the client and for the company. So obviously us as Meadow Rise Developments, we sign at the bottom there, then the client signs there with all their details. Okay, so in a nutshell, that will protect you nicely from any disputes or anything that's not very clear. You need a contract that looks similar to that. I'm not saying it needs to be as in detail as that. You decide whether it works for you and your projects. But if your builder or development team is being transparent and looking after your interests and theirs, it should be pretty fair. It should be transparent, and you should be able to look at that contract and know exactly what you're paying for and what service you're getting. I feel like I've done a lot of talking. There's been an hour of talking. Is there any questions before Joanna comes in with her piece there?
I'm not going to worry about my piece now. I'll record it and put it on the end of the recording.
Okay.
So there was one question earlier from Wendy looking at a building currently which is VAT exempt. What does that mean? Wendy, do you want to pop on or unmute and just let us know what the guys can help with? Wendy, oh yeah.
So it wasn't going off mute, apologies. Hi guys, that was absolutely brilliant. For the first time I've come across, we're looking at an old disused distillery, and it is VAT exempt. So I don't actually know, how does that, do we have to check with HMRC just to make sure? I've asked the estate agents twice, what does this actually mean whenever it comes to the building process?
Yeah, so you need to double check with HMRC essentially. You need to just send an email to that part of HMRC and just ask them the question. So we bought a property, we're being told it's VAT exempt. Can you confirm this? They'll ask a couple of details on it and then they'll confirm yes or no. It's rare to get VAT exempt. They normally drop it to 5%. But they can do it. So it's just check with HMRC. It's the only thing you can do is to go to HMRC.
Yeah, don't rely on estate agents or someone giving you the word. You've just seen what happened to Angela Rayner in the news for stamp duty and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I would advise the same. Give HMRC a call or get it electronically written so you've got proof and evidence. Always back yourself that way. I would suggest.
Could I be made redundant? I would
Maybe.
love that.
Maybe, it depends
Would
what
love
position you're in. But
I'm
yeah,
a
good.
foster carer as well, so I would love that. I'm only joking.
Right. Well, look, good luck with it. And if you make any whiskey in the distillery, we're open
Yeah.
to come up and have a shot with you.
Woohoo! Actually, I'm looking for good builders if you know of any
Yeah, we are.
I
Know
don't
a few.
in Northern Ireland. Okay,
Maybe,
thanks, guys.
maybe.
That was
Feel
brilliant.
free. If there may be contacts that know contacts. So if you need anything, I think John's put our details in the
Yeah.
chat there. So reach out if you need any
The,
support with
the,
anything.
the one thing the way we work, as we are concerned, there's zero competition in the world. Do you know what I mean?
Agreed.
We partner with other builders, other developers. I had a 2 hour meeting today with the development company. Do you know what I mean? To see how we could possibly work together, to see if they're looking for jobs that we're not. We have people in London, for instance, that do jobs in Liverpool they want us to do. We don't do work in London, so we give them our jobs and we work in tangent with people. So there is different people. I do know a few people in Ireland, for instance. So yeah, if you have anything like that, give us a shout. We'll see who we know. If we can't do the job, we certainly know someone who can.
Brilliant. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you so much, guys. That was, I think, everyone's commenting in the chat how valuable that was and how much information you guys have shared. So,
Appreciate it.
thank you for opening the doors into your business and why you decide to do these things. So it's really appreciated.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Enjoy your Monday evenings, everyone. And
Yeah. Cheers for your time, guys. Really appreciate it. Speak soon.
yeah, take care. Bye.
Bye now.
So this property series has been brought to you by Happy Friday Marketing. How can Happy Friday help you? So we can help you with everything from deciding what your strategy is going to be, what your business is going to be, and then what marketing is required for that business. We can help you come up with your logo and business branding. We can help you design your business cards, whether physical or electronic. We can help you with printed ideas like leaflet design that maybe for mail drops or for handing out at networking meetings. We can help you with the copy, the design, and the build of your website and all the technical aspects around that. We can help you with your social media strategy. Not every strategy is required to be on all social media channels at all times. So let's find what is actually required for you. And then I can help you come up with that strategy as well. And then I can help you with all things once you've found a client. So say you're going to be working with investors, definitely how you present yourself with an investor pack or even a landlord pack if you're going for rent to rent is very, very important to come off in a professional manner. There are 2 ways of working with me. So we have the traditional done for you service. This is the traditional, you give me a brief or we work on the brief together. I go off and come up with some options, send them back to you, and we go back and forward until we find the perfect fit for you. Or we can have the done with you service. So this is where you may have some design skills yourself or happy using an AI tool. And this is where we can work on those things together just to make sure that you are completely happy with them before they go to launch or to print, whatever you're using. If you do need some help with your marketing or even just come up with your strategy, please feel free to book yourself in for a free 30-minute chat. That QR code will take you to my Calendly link. If that QR code for whatever reason doesn't work, go to happy-friday.uk and click on the Contact Me section. Looking forward to meeting you. Have a great day.